Hello and welcome to our quarterly podcast where we discuss activities to support the consistent application of IFRS Accounting Standards. My name is Bruce Mackenzie, a member of the IASB and chair of the IFRS Interpretations Committee. In this episode, we will cover discussions that took place at the November 2024 committee meeting. Now, at this meeting, the committee discussed two tentative agenda decisions on assessing indicators of hyperinflationary economies and recognition of intangible assets resulting from climate-related expenditure. We finalized one agenda decision on clarification of cash flows related to variation margin calls on collateralized to market contracts, and we provided input on a number of IASB projects, including applying IAS 29, our standard on hyperinflation accounting, potential topics the IASB might explore in its cash flows and related matters project, the completeness of the initial list of topics on the amortized cost measurement research project, and the IASB's exposure draft, climate-related other uncertainties in financial statements. Now, the committee also received an update about some agenda decisions that refer to requirements in IAS 1, presentation of financial statements, that have not been brought forward unchanged to IFRS 18, the new standard presentation and disclosure in financial statements. Now, annotations will be added to the bound volume for the issued IFRS Accounting Standards 2025 to identify the relevant sections of the affected agenda decisions. Now, as always, the meeting papers and a recording of the committee's discussions are available on our website. Now, I'll briefly focus on the two tentative agenda decisions. The first submission that the committee discussed was about applying IAS 29 to identify when an economy becomes hyperinflationary. Now, evidence gathered by the committee to date indicates little, if any, diversity in understanding the requirements for assessing when an economy becomes hyperinflationary. According to the evidence, stakeholders do not conclude that an economy becomes hyperinflationary based solely on one of the indicators listed in paragraph 3 of IAS 29. They consider indicators other than those listed in this paragraph when relevant, and they do not reach different conclusions at different levels within the group when applying IFRS accounting standards. Now, accordingly, the committee concluded that the matter does not have widespread effect. Therefore, the committee tentatively decided not to add a standard-setting project to the work plan. Now, as I mentioned previously, committee members also separately shared their experiences and challenges in applying IAS 29, which will be reported to the IASB at a future meeting. Now, the second submission the committee discussed was about whether an entity's expenditure for carbon credits and research and development activities meet the requirements in IAS 38 to be recognized as intangible assets. Note that the committee did not consider the submission's question about the accounting for carbon credits, as the IASB is already performing research on this topic. As you might recall, in response to its third agenda consultation, the IASB added to its reserve list a project on pollutant pricing mechanisms, or PPMs, some of which include the use of carbon credits. Now, the IASB expects to consider the results of this research at a future meeting and decide whether to start a project on the accounting for PPMs or leave it off for the next agenda consultation. So the committee considered only the submission's question about the accounting for expenditure on research and development activities. Evidence gathered to date indicates no material diversity in the accounting for expenditures on such activities. Accordingly, the committee concluded that the matter described in the request does not have a widespread effect. Therefore, the committee tentatively decided not to add a standard-setting project to the work plan. Now, both these tentative agenda decisions are out for comment until the 3rd of February 2025, and we look forward to receiving your feedback. Now, if you want to learn more about how the committee works and why companies need to consider agenda decisions when applying IFRS accounting standards, be sure to watch our explainer video on the ifrs.org website. Summaries of the committee's meetings can also be found there. As a reminder, you can catch up on previous episodes of this podcast and the monthly IASB podcast on our website, as well as your preferred podcast channels. We hope you found this podcast informative. With that, we'll sign off until next time. Thanks for listening and stay tuned for our next quarterly update.